came back to town early in the morning of September 29th instead of when he was scheduled for the afternoon.
Hit her on the head.
She was very proud of her heritage.
You know, we didn't have cell phones back in the day, so I figured she was just at a friend's house.
By evening, she knew. Sonia hadn't just slept late somewhere.
Would it be unusual for you on a patrol at night to pick up women or meet women or give people a ride?
Imagine this. It is 1 a.m. You are walking home through a light misting rain, the kind you actually like. You said goodnight to your friends an hour ago. You had 1 beer. You are sober, happy, and your apartment is less than a mile away. A police car slows beside you. The window comes down. You recognize the face behind the wheel. You feel safe. You get in. She never made it home. And the man who stopped her on that street, the one whose uniform made her feel protected, the one she chose to get into a car with at 1 a.m. because she had no reason in the world not to trust him, that same man showed up the very next evening at the search for her body. He stood next to the detectives. He looked out over the tundra with them. He helped work the scene for a woman he had already killed. This is the story of Sonia Ivanoff, 19 years old, Nome, Alaska. August 2003. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how her killer came within inches of walking free, why the investigation nearly destroyed an innocent man along the way, and why the entire outcome came down to one ordinary woman deciding to tell the truth. Drop your city in the comments right now. Tell me what time it is where you are and what the weather looks like outside. I want to know where you are when you hear this. Nome sits at the edge of the world. 3,500 people. The Bering Sea on one side, open tundra on every other. No roads out. If you want to leave, you fly. It is a town where everyone knows everyone and secrets have nowhere to hide. Except, as it turned out, they had somewhere to hide for a very long time. On the morning of August 12, 2003, volunteer firefighter John Larson was searching a patch of tundra 5 minutes north of Nome. He was part of a team looking for a young woman reported missing 2 days earlier. What he found, concealed about 5 feet off a remote road in tall grass and dense willow bushes, was a body. No shell casings, no weapon, no clothing except a single sock on her left foot. No visible pool of blood. Whoever had done this had not panicked. They had moved deliberately, cleaned up after themselves, and left with the calm confidence of someone who believed they would never be caught. The woman was identified as Sonia Ivanoff, 19 years old. Reported missing on August 10th, 2 days before her body was found. Sonia was born on April 13th, 1984, in the fishing village of Unalakleet on the far western edge of Alaska. Fourth of 6 children. Her parents were Larry and Maggie Ivanoff. Sonia was Indigenous Alaskan, and she carried that identity with clarity and pride. She had a wide smile and a quick sense of humor. She spoke her mind. She had a strong sense of justice and was not the kind of person who looked away when something was wrong. After graduating in 2002, she moved to Nome to build a life of her own. She found an apartment, landed a job as a receptionist at the Norton Sound Health Corporation, and settled in. In the summer of 2003, her best friend Tamari Tawarak moved in with her. Opposite schedules, but always close. Movies, friends over, basketball, neither owned a car. Both felt safe walking around Nome, but Sonia's sister Christina and her husband Tom carried a quiet worry about what it meant to be a young Indigenous woman navigating that city alone. Alaska has some of the highest rates of missing and murdered Indigenous women in the country. That is a pattern produced by repeated choices made by specific people. Sonia and Tamari had a system. If either stayed overnight at a friend's house, they called each other to check in using their work phones, a small thing. But that was how they looked out for each other.
It was still kind of early. I mean, we went out, I think it was around 11 o'clock, and that's early for high schoolers, to a friend's house, and they were playing board games there.
In Alaska, summer nights stay bright until very late. Heading out at 10 or 11 still feels like early evening. On Sunday, August 10th, 2003, Sonia and Tamari went to a friend's place together for board games and a few drinks. They stayed until around 1 in the morning. Sonia had a single beer the whole night. She was in a good mood, had the next day off, and was in no hurry. She told Tamari she wanted to stop by and see another friend on the way home. She didn't say exactly who. Tamari, tired, decided to stay and sleep there. Before she left, Sonia put on her jeans and a pair of Tamari's Skechers shoes, wallet and keys hanging off her arm. Outside, a light misting rain had settled over Nome. Her favorite kind of weather, she chose to walk. They said their goodbyes. Nothing about the moment felt different from any other night. Sonia walked northwest toward her friend's house. That was the last time Tamari ever saw her.
When we parted ways, I walked towards my friend's house, and she continued walking down the street, but it was towards our house area.
The next morning, Tamari took a taxi back to the apartment and noticed Sonia wasn't in bed. She assumed Sonia had stayed the night wherever she had been visiting. A reasonable thought. The kind you have when nothing has ever gone wrong before. But as the hours passed with no word, something started pulling at her. She called mutual friends. She reached out to Sonia's sister, Christina. Nobody had seen her. Nobody had heard anything. When Tamari came home that evening and Sonia still wasn't there, she walked into the bathroom. Sonia's makeup bag was sitting on the counter completely untouched. Sonia did her hair and makeup every single day, especially on her days off. That untouched bag told Tamari everything she didn't want to know. The following day, August 12th, Tamari spent every spare moment making calls from work. She asked Christina to contact their parents. She called the Nome Police Department directly to ask if Sonia had been brought in anywhere. The dispatcher said no. When Tamari's shift ended at 5, she went straight to the station. At 5:15, she walked into the Nome Police Department in tears to report her roommate missing. Officer Sam Piscoya took her statement. His questions focused heavily on Sonia's drinking, whether she might be somewhere sleeping off a hard night. He treated Tamari's fear as an overreaction. Teenage drama.
We didn't have
Tamari was
cell phones back in
firm.
the day, so,
Sonia had had one beer. No one had heard from her in over 40 hours. This was not normal. Sonia's boss at the hospital had been making calls of her own because Sonia hadn't shown up for work, completely unlike her. When her boss also called the department to report her missing, the police finally treated the situation with the urgency it deserved. An official missing persons report was filed. The Ivanov family was told. Christina and Tom began driving around Nome asking questions, trying to trace Sonia's movements from Sunday night. A name kept coming up. Kunuk. His real name was Daniel Angus, one of Sonia's closest male friends. Clearly interested in her romantically, but he had a girlfriend. Sonia had always told Tamari he was just a friend. When Christina and Tom called Kunuk to ask if he had seen Sonia, he said he hadn't. Officer Brian Redburn, assigned to the case, sat down with Tamari. She described Sonia as one of the most genuinely joyful people she had ever known. When Redburn asked about their friendship, Tamari told him they talked things out when they disagreed. No grudges, no distance.
Generally, overall, her mood is
happy.
Are you guys arguing or anything?
We've never. If we argue, then we get back. We talk about it. I mean, I can't stand being home and just sitting there because she's not there.
She's somewhere.
She also told Redburn she could barely sleep in the apartment without Sonia there. The absence was that heavy. Redburn searched the apartment. Everything in place except the clothes Sonia had last been wearing. No threatening letters, no alarming entries, nothing pointing to a motive from inside her personal life. Tamari mentioned that a couple of girls from high school had been jealous of Sonia, of her talent and her looks. But she couldn't bring herself to believe any of them capable of this.
Yeah, that she had no enemies. I mean, there was other girls that were possibly jealous of her, but there was nobody in general that I could think of that would even want to do something horrendous or hurt her.
Redburn went through Sonia's photo albums. She loved photography. In one photograph, she was standing by a river, arms outstretched, grinning wide. On her right bicep, a large purple bruise. Tamari explained it had happened at a movie night a few weeks earlier. The group had been joking around, wrestling. But Kunuk had grabbed Sonia's arm too hard. And then Tamari told him something that shifted the entire early direction of the investigation.
Her and Kunuk never officially they were dating, but they kissed around a couple times. And I know Kunuk doesn't have a very good rep for. I know he could go, I guess you could call it, psycho sometimes.
Kunuk had a short temper. He had expressed interest in Sonia more than once, and she had turned him down each time, told Tamari he simply wasn't her type. Redburn considered whether an angry rejection with alcohol involved might have escalated into something irreversible. The search expanded fast. Boats went out along the river. Officers crossed the tundra reading fresh tracks in mud softened by a steady rain that had fallen from midnight on August 11th through 5 that afternoon. Everyone hoped, quietly, that they would find Sonia alive. The department told Christina and Tom they had sufficient manpower. Standing still wasn't something Christina could do. She and Tom drove to the station, pushed through the crowd outside, scanned every face. Sonia wasn't there. Then came the call that collapsed everything. A body had been found in the tundra. At 8:30 that evening, after a 3-hour search, Larson found the body along Dredge 5 Road just off the Nome to Teller Highway. The road led to an abandoned gold mine, overgrown and private, surrounded by tall grass and dense willow bushes. Tire tracks from a single vehicle pressed clearly into the soft mud. About 5 feet from the road edge, hidden in the undergrowth, was Sonia, lying on her side. Single sock on her left foot. Almost everything else gone, Redburn confirmed it was Sonia. The 7-person Nome force was not equipped for a full homicide investigation. The Alaska Bureau of Investigation was called in from Anchorage, 500 miles away. They couldn't fly in until morning, so Redburn's team worked through the night, covering the scene with tarps weighted down by stones against the wind, guarding against wildlife. Chief Ralph Tiller and Officer Matt Owens arrived to assess the scene and stood guard. Officer Matt Owens, hold on to that name. The family was told that night Tom had to call Sonia's parents, Larry and Maggie in Unalakleet, to tell them their daughter was gone. The next morning, investigator Eric Burrows and criminalist Carrie Cathcart flew in from Anchorage. Cathcart photographed the scene, numbered every piece of evidence, and tested every surface for blood. Sonia had been stripped of all clothing except that single sock, bruising and traces of blood on the left side of her chest and face. No visible cause of death.
We did a closer examination of her body to see if we could see any evidence on her at all. We didn't, but we did tape lifts of the body to possibly collect anything we couldn't see.
When Cathcart lifted Sonia's head, she found what had been completely hidden from view. A fatal gunshot wound to the back of the head, concealed beneath her hair. A wound that should have produced significant blood loss. Yet almost no blood was visible anywhere around the body. No shell casings, no weapon, no clothing. The killer had removed all of it, cleared every trace from the surrounding ground, then moved her deeper into the bushes. This was not a panic. This was a plan. About 5 feet from the body, Cathcart found a dark stain in the dirt that had been driven over by a vehicle. Blood, mixed with mud and compressed flat under the tires. When the mud dried, it preserved a clear tire impression, which Cathcart cast using a mold compound. This was where Sonia had been shot. 3 of the 4 tire impressions were identical. The 4th was different. 1 mismatched tire. On a willow branch near the scene, a patch of light blue paint transfer sat high enough to suggest it came from a truck or SUV. The lab confirmed it was vehicle paint. Investigators had their description, a light blue truck or SUV with 1 mismatched tire driven on Dredge 5 Road on the night of August 10th. In a town of 3,500 people, that felt like it should break the case quickly. Nobody anticipated what that vehicle was hiding.
So you're not too busy? I'd like you to come down and talk with us at the police department here for a little bit. We got to be thorough. I know. There's no reason for you to get your own back all up and get all raspy. Well, you were sweet on the girl, weren't you not? Why shouldn't we talk with her?
I hung out with her, but I haven't talked to her almost.
We're talking to all sorts of people who knew the girl. The girl is dead. You seem like a logical person to talk to me. You don't mind talking with us, do you?
I don't mind talking, you know.
That way, they'll have some comparison things to compare to whatever they do find with Sonia. And if the two don't jive, then that's good for you. But if they do jive, then that's not good for you.
How can it? I wasn't even in town when anything happened. Last time I seen her physically was Friday when she was on her lunch break, and I didn't even say hi to her. And that's the last time I've seen her. I took off Sunday afternoon, a little bit after 3, and we didn't get back till Monday evening.
She has a scratch on your back?
Where?
Tuanku told investigators that on the night Sonia disappeared, he had been hunting with friends 73 miles from Nome. Investigators followed up with every name he gave. Those friends all confirmed his account.
Apparently, you and Kunik are out at some point in the time? Yeah. Where at?
Salmon Lake.
You guys kill anything while you're out there?
Yeah.
Investigators executed a search warrant on Kunuk's home and vehicle. In his bedroom, sneakers with what looked like fresh blood on the heel. In his garage, a blue Dodge pickup with 3 tires of one brand and a 4th of another, mirroring the Dredge 5 Road impressions exactly. Bloodstains on the floorboards, a large blue tarp, a rifle with blood on it. Chemical testing confirmed blood on the mismatched tire and its fender. Kunuk became the primary suspect. Investigators chose not to arrest him immediately. They would wait for DNA results first.
There's been some things coming up that make you and your vehicle interesting.
And what's that?
Turns out, there's a bunch of tire impressions out there. They're similar to the tires that you wear in your car.
And what's that? 2 mismatched tires? I have mismatched tires.
It's blue paint at the crime scene, okay? Is there any reason that anybody'd be finding any blood on their vehicle?
No.
Kunuk said the blood came from animals he had hunted. A porcupine, he explained.
Hit it on the head. So I can put it to sleep.
Investigators were skeptical, but they waited for the lab. Meanwhile, Sonia's family prepared her for her final journey. Her sister Christina knew that Sonia had always taken pride in how she looked. Despite the visible damage to Sonia's face, Christina applied her makeup herself carefully before the funeral. She would later say she liked to look good. It was very hard.
I did her makeup, and she liked to look good. It was very hard. There was so many people. Not just from the village, but from surrounding villages. We held her service. Was at the school gym.
The service was held in the school gymnasium, the very basketball court where Sonia had spent so many of her best moments. She was laid to rest at Unalakleet Cemetery, close to the land she had grown up on. And then the case fell apart. The DNA results came back. The blood in Kunuk's truck came from animals, not from Sonia. The tire pattern and the paint were coincidence. His alibis held. All that careful forensic work, and investigators were back at the start. They searched the landfill for Sonia's missing clothing. Nothing. The case was going cold. Then late one night, reviewing the files, investigators found something buried deep in the paperwork. A handwritten note from a woman named Florence. She had been a year ahead of Sonia in high school. What she had written in that note changed the shape of everything. Florence said that on the night Sonia disappeared, she had seen her getting into a police car. Investigator Burroughs conducted separate interviews with Florence and her friend Anita to confirm what they had witnessed.
Walking on the sidewalk. I said hi to her. I think it's actually small motion. This is heading that way.
Toward the airport.
Here was a police car. He started slowing down. Slow down, slow down. He tells me to this other side. And then he turned around. A police officer stopped on the side. She said, "What's going on?" And he started rolling down his window down. They talked something. And she went in. It was shocking.
Was it a state trooper car or a police car?
Police car.
Okay. Was it a big car or a little car?
It was a nice white one. Nice new one that you guys are using.
Florence guided Burroughs to the exact spot where it had happened. Danita corroborated every detail and emphasized Sonia had been completely sober, alert, herself. She had leaned into the car to speak with the driver, then gotten in willingly. Why would a young woman get willingly into a police car at 1 a.m? Because she trusted the person behind the wheel. She had no reason not to. That trust, entirely reasonable, entirely normal, was the mechanism of her death. Burroughs began seriously considering a possibility that should have been almost unthinkable. A law enforcement officer might be responsible for Sonia's murder. And not a single officer had come forward with any information about having seen her that night. Nome's department kept keys in their patrol car ignitions at all times for rapid emergency response. That detail would matter. Burroughs narrowed his focus to 2 officers primarily on duty that night, Matt Owens and Stan Piscoya. Neither looked like a suspect, but each had done small things Burroughs kept returning to. Owens had discouraged Tom from posting Sonia's photograph during the search. Piscoya had dismissed Tamari's fear when she first came in. Small things in isolation. Nothing small anymore. Burroughs arranged to interview both officers in Anchorage away from Nome. The interviews were scheduled, and then the night before they were supposed to leave, someone stole a police car directly from the station parking lot. In the early morning hours, Redburn and Owens discovered that patrol car 321 was gone. Owens drove out with Chief Tiller and Redburn to Bessie Pit, a nearby gravel mine where dispatch had located the vehicle. Moments after they arrived, shots rang out. Owens dove for cover. The shooter fled into the tundra. Owens was not hit. Inside the recovered vehicle launch, the missing shotgun, a shattered window, and something nobody had anticipated. An envelope. Inside it, Sonia's recreation center pool pass, her personal property, in a stolen police cruiser. Beneath the broken glass was a typed note left there deliberately. It read, "Pigs, I hate cops. I hate every one of you." Sonja was just the person in the wrong place at the wrong time. I didn't know her, as you can see. It was easy for me to take your pig car keys right there. It was not her fault she thought I was a pig and just happened she was just a person. And I just wanted to see if I could that night. Every one of you should be more careful. I watch every move you make. You leave me alone, and I will leave you alone. I will also shoot you in the head if you get close. No fingerprints on the driver's seat. No DNA from the note. The FBI was brought in to analyze the material. Their profiler was direct. He believed the letter and the shootout had been staged to redirect suspicion away from the 2 officers about to be interviewed. He pointed to the timing, the car stolen the night before the scheduled interviews. He pointed to the word pigs as a deliberate choice meant to make the author look like a hostile outsider. But his sharpest observation was about a single phrase. The note said, "I didn't know her." A genuinely uninvolved stranger does not phrase it that way. They say they never met her. "I didn't know her" implies a relationship close enough to be worth denying. The morning after the 321 incident was September 24th, the day both Owens and Pascoya were scheduled to fly to Anchorage. Pascoya got on the plane. Owens didn't. He told Chief Tiller the previous night had shaken him too badly to travel and that he needed therapy instead. Tiller agreed. The interview was postponed. In Anchorage, Pascoya cooperated fully. He walked through the night, the patrol shifts, a domestic disturbance just before 1 a.m. where an agitated man struck Owens before Pascoya subdued him with pepper spray. Finished his paperwork around 1:45. After that, he said he had been at the station alone. No one to confirm it. Just his own handwritten log entries.
Which vehicle were you driving that night?
I don't remember which one. I think it might have been a new Expedition. I'm not real sure.
When asked which vehicle he had driven that night, Pascoya said he wasn't entirely sure.
Do you remember anything significant from that night, Sunday the 10th to Monday the 11th, over that shift?
That night we were busy.
After this arrest and this fight with this guy, did that take up the rest of your shift, or did you have anything else going on?
I think I finished all our paperwork for bar closing by 1:30, 1:45.
Did you stop and talk with Sonia that night, and did you give her a ride somewhere?
No.
Who could you absolutely vouch for not having done this, besides yourself?
The officers.
The department logbook showed clearly that Pascoya had driven vehicle 983 that night, not the Expedition. He either couldn't remember or had wanted investigators to think he was in a different vehicle. Pascoya insisted both he and Owens were innocent. But insistence is not evidence. Back in Nome, Burroughs interviewed the other 5 officers. What emerged about Owens built a picture that was harder and harder to dismiss. He was respected as a strong officer, sharp with firearms. But several colleagues noted that under extreme pressure, Owens didn't always act rationally. He had signed up specifically for the night shift, reportedly because those hours gave him more latitude. Multiple officers confirmed that Owens had a documented history of bringing unauthorized people into his patrol car while on duty, reprimanded for it more than once. Women he was pursuing. Police vehicles are not personal transportation. Owens used them that way. That pattern fits directly over what happened to Sonia. She leaned into the car to talk. She got in. She trusted the badge. The badge was the weapon. Owens regularly transported patients to the hospital where Sonia worked the night shift. He could have known her well. He could have been watching for her. Burroughs also confirmed that Chief Tiller had never actually given Owens permission to skip the Anchorage interview. Owens had invented that permission entirely, lying to his own chief to avoid being questioned. And Owens had shown up at Sonia's crime scene the night of August 13th in his personal vehicle, not on duty with no radio call in his name. No one had summoned him. How he knew precisely where to go was a question Burroughs could not move past. After 5 full days, Owens finally traveled to Anchorage on September 29th.
Thanks for coming in here to see us.
Yes, sir.
How was your flight?
It was a little rough, honestly. A little turf.
A little bit away. I want you to run down your shift from August 10th to 11th for me.
Okay. He hits me upside the jaw. Pretty damn hard. My hat goes flying. My glasses are off. As I'm trying to restrain him.
You know about what time that was?
It's in the dispatch box, sir. Just walked back in and was going to sit down and write some report. And heard this, what sounded to me like a gunshot. Picked him up and drove to my house. I got out. He got in the driver's seat.
In the interview, Owens confirmed the basic timeline Pascoya had described: the domestic disturbance call, the suspect who struck him, the patrol through the bar district. A friend had ridden with him for about 10 minutes after 1 in the morning. He reconnected with Pascoya for paperwork at 2:30, drove him home at 2:50, returned to the station. At 3:30, he heard a gunshot and drove for a full hour trying to locate it. He never found the source. When asked directly whether he had ever given Sonia a ride, Owens said no.
Did you pick up Sonia while you're on duty that night? Give her a ride somewhere?
Sonia had never been in my patrol car, my personal car, never anywhere like that. Stan and I are, obviously not the ones that are doing this.
She had never been in his vehicle. He acknowledged her name was familiar, but claimed he had never spoken to her directly.
On your time in Nome, working and stuff, is Sonia a person that you would know if you saw her on the road, or is she like a complete stranger to you? Or
She would definitely be. It's somebody I know who she is, and if I brought her drunk up there for a Title 47 or something like that, and there wasn't a nurse down there, I'd go up to the nurse station and say, "Hey, can you get me a nurse down here?" Other than that, I don't think I've ever spoke 2 words to a girl in my life.
When the investigator raised the accounts from women in Nome about his behavior, Owens became defensive.
Would it be unusual for you on a patrol at night to pick up women or meet women or give people a ride?
No, that's definitely, it's not unusual. I do have people that ride along with me, both male and female.
I would look at somebody that come up and said that they know that you've picked up girls before, off duty or on duty, and that you've taken girls, gone to places with girls and had sex with them when you picked them up.
On duty? Mm-hmm. It'd be crazy. I'm not going around picking up women. On duty or off duty. I mean, even when I'm
Not even
off
once.
duty. Not that I know of. No, sir. I don't remember not one single time. That's not me to do that.
He eventually admitted that women he had been in relationships with had ridden with him in his cruiser at various times. But he drew a firm line at the suggestion that he had ever picked up someone he didn't already know. The investigator shifted to the 321 incident. Owens described spotting brake lights ahead on the highway, pulling up behind the parked Ford Expedition, noticing the trunk was already open and the shotgun already gone, then walking toward the passenger side, and that was when someone fired at him. The investigator identified several problems immediately. Brake lights only activate when someone is pressing the brake pedal, so someone had to be sitting in that vehicle with their foot on the brake at the moment Owens arrived, yet the trunk was already open and the shotgun already gone. Owens had been fired upon at close range by someone who, per the note, harbored a deep hatred of law enforcement, yet walked away without a scratch. And the alleged perpetrator fled on foot into open Alaskan tundra at night. Nobody fleeing a real confrontation runs in that direction. Investigators concluded the 321 incident had been staged. When they confronted Owens with that directly, his reaction was immediate and sharp. Not measured denial. Something harder and faster. From approximately 1:20 to 2:20 in the morning on the night Sonia disappeared, Owens had no verifiable account of his whereabouts. That unaccounted hour corresponded almost exactly to the window in which Florence had seen Sonia get into a police car. Several women in Nome came forward and stated on record that they had been in inappropriate physical relationships with Owens inside his patrol car while on duty. Owens dismissed every account. Burroughs pressed forward. Owens agreed to a polygraph. Pascoya had passed cleanly. Owens did not, failing most significantly on the 321 questions. A failed polygraph is not admissible as evidence, but it told Burroughs what Owens was choosing not to share. The Alaska Bureau of Investigation placed Owens on administrative leave and kept building. Let me ask you something right now. If you lived in Nome during this investigation and you had seen something that night, even something small, would you have come forward? Drop your answer below, because what happens next depends entirely on that question. Burroughs sat down with Owens' soon-to-be ex-wife. On August 12, 2003, Owens had come to his ex-wife and asked her to watch their son Danny. His reason? A girl had gone missing, and he wasn't sure how things were going to unfold. He made that request before Tamari had even filed the missing persons report, before anyone had officially reported anything. How did Matt Owens know a girl was missing? Shortly after the 321 incident, Owens told his ex-wife that police suspected him, but that a note found in the stolen vehicle had cleared him. A note Burroughs now believed Owens had planted himself as a pre-made alibi. And then came the account that gave investigators probable cause. A man named Warren Little, who knew Owens through their church community, told investigators that Owens had described to him exactly how Sonia had died. She had jumped from a police vehicle and been fatally shot. Before those details had been made public, information that only one person on earth could have known. On October 24th, Owens was fired from the Nome Police Department and arrested. Some residents stood firmly behind him. Others demanded justice for Sonia's family, who had already waited too long. Burroughs focused on finding the weapon. A Jennings .22 caliber pistol from the police evidence room produced no direct DNA connection to Owens. A bullet casing near Dredge 5 Road confirmed a handgun had been used. Analysts determined the Jennings .22's firing pattern was consistent with the bullet that killed Sonia, but DNA on both items still produced nothing definitive. The physical thread connecting Owens directly to the crime kept slipping out of reach. Then in early November, a local woman called in response to a public tip request. She told investigators she had dated Owens before Sonia's death. One of their final dates, around August 17th, 2003, 1 week after Sonia disappeared, had been a trip to Coffee Creek, a remote area 75 miles north of Nome. She had found it romantic at first. Then she noticed something that puzzled her. Owens was burning what appeared to be brand new clothing in a campfire. Clothing that looked like it had barely been worn. She had no reason to connect it to anything at the time. She had never mentioned it to anyone. Until now. Investigators knew exactly what Sonia had been wearing when she left her friend's house for the last time. Tamari had told them everything. Sketcher shoes, jeans, a bra, a belt. On November 5th, Burroughs and his team drove out to Coffee Creek and located the fire pit. Burroughs went through the cold gray ash by hand, slowly. Methodically, he found a small metal eyelet. On its surface, barely legible but readable were the letters of the Skechers brand. If you are watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, this is the moment. Cases like Sonya's get solved because investigators like Burroughs refuse to stop, and because ordinary people decide to report the thing they saw and never told anyone. Subscribe if you want to be there for the next one. The ash was carefully collected and transported back to Nome. Every remnant was examined. What analysts found inside it was complete and devastating. A dozen Skechers eyelets, metal hooks from a bra, a metal piece from a belt, a jeans button, a zipper, and a key ring holding 4 badly charred keys. Investigators asked Sonya's sister Christina and Tamari to help identify the items. The jeans Sonya wore that night were Tilt brand. The shoes were Skechers. Everything recovered from that campfire matched exactly what Sonya had been wearing the last time anyone saw her alive. One of those charred keys fit the lock of Sonya's apartment. The second matched a post office box that the Nome post office registered to Michael Owens, Matt Owens' uncle. And in burning her clothing, Owens had accidentally burned some of his own personal items alongside them. Evidence of his own connection to that fire, right there in the same ash. That mistake would cost him everything. The trial began in Nome on January 18, 2005. Prosecutor Rick Subby brought 70 witnesses. Defense attorney James Momies found cracks, immediately contradictions about Sonya's movements. The bullet analysis challenged as imprecise. A witness claiming to have seen Sonya alive on Monday in a blue truck. And testimony that copying post office box keys was illegal. Owens' ex-wife testified about the Danny request made before the missing persons report was filed. That detail had no innocent explanation. In his own testimony, Owens claimed her memory was wrong. The defense pointed to Officer Redburn as an alternative suspect. Owens had previously reported Redburn for misconduct, giving Redburn a personal motive. 6 women with accounts of Owens' conduct were ruled inadmissible. Do you think at this point he was going to be convicted? Drop your answer. One word is enough. The jury was divided exactly along the fault line running through Nome. Half had personal connections to Owens. The other half were friends of Sonya. After 40 hours of deliberation, no unanimous verdict could be reached. The judge declared a mistrial.
I knew from the beginning that Nome wasn't the place to have the trial. The jurors had attended the same church as Matthew Owens, and I knew that there could be some sort of buddy-buddy system going on there.
Sonya's family had to go through all of it again. Her parents, Larry and Maggie, her brother Jacob, back in a courtroom, starting over. The second trial began on October 17th, 2005. During it, Burroughs received one final piece. Owens' landlord, Charlotte Calandrelli, had told a neighbor she had seen Sonya's ID card inside Owens' bedroom. Burroughs obtained a warrant to record a phone call between them. Charlotte confirmed it. She had seen Sonya's ID and wallet in Matt Owens' possession.
Well, Charlotte, I may have opened my mouth and spoken out of turn. The conversation that I remember, you were concerned that you had seen, along with Matt's other stuff, you had seen Sonya's ID or rec card. Because my recollection is that you said, I'm going to go tell the lawyers today. So I didn't think any more about it then.
But when Charlotte was called to the stand, she denied ever seeing any of Sonya's belongings in Owens' possession. The prosecution played the recorded phone call. The jury heard Charlotte's own voice contradicting everything she had just sworn under oath. One of those 2 conversations contained the truth. The jury had heard both. Despite every attempt to cast doubt, despite the mistrial, despite witnesses who changed their stories, the jury in the second trial found Matt Owens guilty of first-degree murder and tampering with physical evidence. In December 2005, he was sentenced to 101 years in prison. Owens' family and his church community continued to believe in his innocence. Sonya's family felt, for the first time since August 10, 2003, that something resembling justice had arrived. Owens has filed repeated appeals since his conviction. Sonya's family has attended every single hearing. They have not missed one. 101 years is a sentence. It is not a restoration. It is the closest the law could come, and it is worth understanding that it nearly didn't happen at all. If Florence had not written that note, if Tamari had accepted Piscoya's dismissal and gone home, if the woman at Coffee Creek had said nothing, if Charlotte's phone call had never been recorded, any one of those threads breaks and Kunuk potentially sits in a cell for decades for a crime he never committed. Matt Owens moves on with his life. This case did not resolve because the system worked. It resolved because ordinary people with no power and no guarantee of being believed told the truth when staying quiet would have been much easier. Like this video if that lands, not as a request. Because Sonya's family sat through 2 trials and years of appeals to keep that truth on record, and that deserves to be acknowledged. There's another case coming to this channel. The same pattern, danger hidden inside the institution meant to provide safety. A detail sitting in an evidence room the entire time that should have broken things open far sooner. Most people have never heard this story. Subscribe so it finds you when it goes up. Sonya Ivanov was 19 years old. She was joyful and sharp and full of plans she never got to carry out. She did her makeup every morning because she liked to look good. She loved the feeling of a light misting rain on a late summer night. She walked home through it that night feeling safe, and then she trusted the wrong person in a uniform. One man counted on his badge to make him invisible. He was almost right. Her name is Sonya. Say it out loud if you are willing.